And how did you navigate the church wounds? Because I know a lot of people have a lot of church wounds and then don't even go back. But it seems like you've got a really healthy love for the church, but
Yeah.
then you've been through so much being kind of in the backstage tour of ministry and stuff. How did you navigate coming out of that without church wounds?
I think when you look at Acts or you look at the disciples, they were super dysfunctional. Like they just had dysfunctional moments and they were vying for position. They were controlling at times. They were, they said, harsh things to each other, to Jesus that, and I go, okay, so the reality is people are people. And so I think when I
Mhm.
accepted the fact that there's people, I mean, some people, pastors who don't have a good conflict model in their relationships, and then they become pastors and they become conflict avoiders, and so certain things don't ever happen in the church that needs to happen, and it causes division and it causes church breakdowns 2 years later or 5 years later. Like I
Yeah.
would watch the patterns of what was happening and have compassion versus judgment. And even most of the people who hurt me because they were hurt people,
Mhm.
and so hurt people. And so I was like, I
Yeah.
want to become as healthy as I can and get as much emotional health so I don't do this.
Oh, that's good. And then the number one question I always get is, "What's the promised land like?" Because I feel like you've
Oh,
kinda
I love it.
crossed
Well,
over.
I'm doing I'm actually like a couple minutes late for my part of my promise. I mean, I'm doing part of my calling is to create conversation and narrative around what God is doing and who He is and our generation, and see like His transformative power isn't just inward, but it also changes structures and lands and governments and peoples and lives. So to be able to host that conversation through podcasts and television shows and media online and do some, journalism, and I'm no longer in a conference church role at all. Like I don't do any conference or church meetings anymore after COVID. And I get to do the things that I feel really called to. And we live in a part of LA that I love to live at with my family, my wife and my daughters are my promised land. Like I have this incredible relationship where a lot of the ego or the midlife crisis already happened. So when I got married, I didn't need a ministry for success or fulfillment. I wanted a ministry to serve my love in God. So I didn't put it in front of my marriage or my kids. But I wanted, like my kids would have got me at a terrible stage when I was in my 20s, but they get me
Mm.
now and I love who I am now. So I love being a dad. I love being their dad. I love being with them. So the promise land to me is like you like yourself, and then you don't necessarily like everything you have to do, but you like the people you get to do it with. And
Oh,
that's the part that I like about the promised land is like there's still battles. I mean, they went to the promised land, there were so many giants to kill and cities to take over. There was like it was inhabited. Like our promised land is messy and hard, but man, it just feels right. It just feels like, oh, I like it here because I like me, and I like walking with God. I just like being with Him.